Welcome everybody to a special episode of What's NXT Party. Yes, What's NXT Party. This is going to be a year in review for NXT and NXT UK for the year of 2018. I am, of course, the Rated R reviewer, Stefan Osborne, joined as always by the General, Jerry Slaughter.
Good evening, wrestling fans.
And this is going to be a bit of a different format. We don't have a show to go by. There was no end of the year clip review show of NXT. We actually got a real show, as dull as it was. But this is going to be for the end of the year. Hopefully we can get this up on the 31st, maybe on New Year's Eve.
Possibly.
Something for everybody to watch before you watch Raw. Raw is going to be a whole different beast.
Yes, it is.
But let's talk about some NXT, because we have had a great year of NXT despite the shitty year that we've had on the main roster on Raw and with the NXT call-ups. First thing I want to get into in this year in review is one of the more recent and biggest impacts that we've had in NXT, and that impact is the call-up of 6 superstars. One in particular that was expected already, so it wasn't a huge loss seeing the promo on Raw and then again on SmackDown for the call-up of Lars Sullivan, EC3, Heavy Machinery, that's Dozovic and Tucker Knight, and Nikki Cross, and Lacey Evans.
Lacey Evans was kind of a shock because we had already seen like Nikki Cross on SmackDown as well, so we knew she was going to be on her way out, we didn't know when.
So my question for you, what do we do about this? Is this an immediate reaction that we need to have on NXT, replacing these people, filling the spots that they were in, or is this not really a big deal at this point?
There's so much talent that we have right now in NXT that doesn't really get any TV time just yet, that the vacuum that's actually leaving isn't really a vacuum at all. It just means we're going to get more TV time for these guys that we've actually enjoyed watching, but we're like, hey, where's their TV time at? Because we've been focusing so much on these other teams. But now, even then, Heavy Machinery was one of those teams that just kind of disappeared for a little bit too, because everybody was all about the War Raiders and everything at that point, and building up to War Games and whatnot. So Heavy Machinery is kind of put on a back burner. But with War Raiders being out, Heavy Machinery got to move, into their place a little bit. But even then, they got the call right up. So, but that just opens up for the War Raiders to come back, and also for some of the other tag teams to rise up as well. So I'm actually really excited to see where this actually leads to.
Well, we are not only losing Heavy Machinery to probably Raw, but we are also losing the tag team of the Mighty, because I can't remember his name, and I apologize for that. I should have wrote it down before we started this, but Nick something.
I was about to say Nick, yes.
I probably have it written down here somewhere, but Nick Miller, maybe?
Nick Miller.
Oh, great. I really hope that's the correct name. Anyway, he's not coming back from Australia, so we are losing the Mighty as a tag team. So maybe they could build his partner with somebody else, or they could send him to NXT UK. Whatever they do with him, we actually have room for not only maybe new tag teams to debut, but we also have room for some, like you said, some of the tag teams that haven't gotten a whole lot of spotlight. In my case, I'd like to see the Street Profits
definitely
get a little bit more time on NXT TV. I think they are main roster ready now, but if they're going to stay in NXT for a while, at least make some good use out of them and give them some time in the ring and in front of an audience to perfect their craft a little.
That, and I'm just chomping at the bit at the idea of them versus Strong and O'Reilly for the tag belts. I think that would be an excellent match regardless. I think it'd be a cool build-up, especially if they went all crime time on them and somehow managed to, take away something from them, from the Undisputed Era, that they would actually want back. Almost like they had their stuff taken from the Mighty.
Right.
So,
which was kind of a weak build for a feud.
Well, that's an old
or basis for a feud.
It's an old school feud because
you stole my stuff.
Yeah, pretty much the Undertaker versus he wasn't the Godfather at that point. He was actually under a different one. It's like Kama Mustafa. He actually took the urn and turned it into like a gold chain at one point. And it was a really ridiculous gimmick, but at the same time, people bought into it.
Well,
And
still, you stole the Undertaker's urn. There's
Yes.
a difference between stealing the urn and stealing
A cup of the
the
chain.
solo cup with NXT painted on it. But it is what it is. The first match was okay. The second match was great. We called it at the end of that match. Where do you go with the Mighty now?
Yeah.
You break them up, but not in the way we thought it would happen. But anyway, that was my question to you. What about the women's division? I personally think they're coming off of the second Mae Young Classic.
Yeah.
They should have no problem if they need women for these spots.
No. Even if they tried to, even if they started pulling even more people from Evolve or Progress, there's never going to be a shortage of women wrestlers or like women title contenders.
Oh, if they're going to pull from
NXT.
there, they need to put them in NXT UK.
Yeah.
We didn't lose anybody from NXT UK to this draft or
Yeah.
this call-up or whatever you want to call it. So now what about the powerhouse Lars Sullivan? Because I really didn't think about it in the first promos when he left. But they really are losing something in Lars because there's nobody else like him on NXT. He was the only guy on NXT that is like a Vince McMahon guy.
Yeah.
Really big, really strong, can do these...
He's the prototype.
Incredible.
He's a prototypical like.
He's the prototype.
Yeah, he's pretty much the prototype. Sorry, Cena.
John Cena, Ryback, anybody that looks like that, he just looks so vicious. Whereas John Cena didn't really look vicious.
He's got a lot of stuff going for him. A, he's got the really cool entrance if they keep that. B, he's actually a little more versatile. He's more of a versatile big man. He has the meat and potato moves, but at the same time, he can match anybody else in that ring too.
Well, he's also in getting out of kayfabe of his character. He's also a very smart man.
Mm-hmm.
He is much like Ryback. He's big and he's dumb looking, but he's far from dumb.
Very methodical in the ring. Super methodical.
And so I think he can understand the business on an intellectual level that helps him even if he doesn't necessarily have the natural skill or the natural charisma. I think he can still manage to put it together. Because as this beast, as this monster, if they're trying to hide his lack of charisma, they're doing it well.
Yeah.
Because we haven't had to see him as trying to be a babyface or anything. We haven't had to see him trying to cut a really meaningful promo.
I see him more or less taking Kane's spot. I mean, like just from the size and everything else, I think that's how they're going to market him, almost like they would to the old school Kane. They're going to have that. They're going to have him probably do a couple squash matches naturally, and then put him in a feud with. I'm not even sure who they'd start feuding him with, because unless he goes straight for like one of the lower belts.
He's a really big monster guy that they're building up for weeks with promos to put him in, probably on Raw. A big man in a sea of big fish.
Mm-hmm.
But no, they'll do him the same way they did Braun, the same way they did Ryback, the same way they did most of the big guys that debut like that. They're going to put him in the ring with a bunch of jobbers that nobody's heard of. He's going to have squash matches for 6 weeks, and then they'll finally work him into a promo. But by the time they're at the end of his squash matches, people have already started keeping count of his win-loss record.
Yeah.
And so now you have the problem of a writing team that likes to do 50-50 booking, dealing with somebody that isn't allowed to have a loss.
Yeah.
So now how do you break the winning streak? Oh, you get into all the same problems that they've always had. What they need to do is debut him at the Royal Rumble, have him win the Royal Rumble, put him right in the ring with Brock Lesnar, and have him beat Brock Lesnar.
Yes.
Something that breaks the mold. That way he can lose the title after 3 or 4 months, and it's not so bad because he doesn't have this win streak.
If they want to talk about a shakeup, that'd be like the biggest shakeup you could ever do. Just bring a debuting superstar in, have him win the Rumble, have him beat the champion at WrestleMania. That'd be like the quickest. Like that would just blow people's minds. That'd almost blow people's minds worse than the Undertaker's streak being broken. That'll be the telling sign right there if like Lars will be huge or not. If people see him as a viable champion, which I already saw that when he's wrestling in NXT.
Well, they talk about how WWE forces people to accept certain superstars as the guy, as the champion, forcing Roman Reigns down our throats and things like that. They can force the issue without it feeling forced.
Yes.
if, like I said, if they debuted Lars Sullivan in the Royal Rumble and he wins the Royal Rumble, he's 1-0.
Yeah.
He doesn't have another match until WrestleMania where he beats Brock Lesnar. He's 2-0.
Yes.
At any point after that, even if you give him a 3 or 4 month reign as champion, even with a couple of matches, tag team matches that he wins on Raw, you're having less than 2 handfuls of wins. It's not a streak yet. You can have him lose and lose the title without it being some big deal because he's had 60 wins because you've waited a year and a half to give him a championship.
Exactly. Like, he, just for those 2 wins alone, like, he'd be well established as a WWE superstar. Simple as that.
So I'm hoping that they do something big with Lars Sullivan.
Yeah.
But who knows? Who knows? In the meantime, I want to get into some people that are staying in NXT, at least as far as we know. And one of the things we want to do on this show, we do have a little bit of a list of things to get through.
Yeah.
We want to do 3 superstars on each brand, and we're talking NXT and NXT UK. I'm going to give the general 3 superstars on each brand, and I want him to talk about their 2019, what he sees and what he sees happening, and what he predicts happening. Like what he's hoping for, but what he actually predicts is going to happen. So I want to start with NXT UK.
Okay.
And I instead of doing 3 superstars, I wanted to do a tag team, a male superstar, and a female superstar. And I'm going to cheat a little bit here. I was originally going to start with NXT. Since I'm starting with UK, I'm going to cheat a little bit here. For the tag team, I want to just do Gallus.
Gallus?
What do you see in 2019 for Gallus?
Okay. Naturally, we've been discussing this for, like, I've been going back and forth about it myself, the whole idea of Pete Dunne versus Joe Coffey. And I'm coming around more to thinking, okay, Joe Coffey could actually beat Pete Dunne for the belt. And if that's going to be the case, I'd like to see him hold on to the belt long enough that Mark Coffey and Wolfgang win the tag belts at some point as well during that year, and then be almost like a horseman-like stable, holding all both the major titles, but not the women's title naturally.
Like the Hart Foundation.
Yeah, pretty much, and like them standing proudly at the top of the ramp, holding all the belts, like, come get us. And that's where I'd hope to see them at. I don't see them breaking up naturally because the Coffeys are, brothers and they're tight, and Wolfgang just seems like he fits. He looks like the 3rd Coffey brother. Maybe his last name is Coffey. Maybe he is Wolfgang Coffey. We just don't know.
He benefits from this, and the Coffey brothers both benefit from this. I think that this is something that they can sustain for a while.
Yes, and like that only makes their dynasty or their kingdom like that much stronger if they actually have the gold involved too, and it's only going to make them even strong, like, look even more formidable in the process.
Okay, so give me one. And by the way, I don't know who he's giving me, and he doesn't know the superstars that I've picked for him ahead of time.
Well, I'm about to say the slightly embarrassing thing is I also picked Gallus, but we're like, since we already talked about them, I'm gonna go ahead and go into my female athlete.
Well,
Jenny.
I didn't get to talk about Gallus.
Okay, then go ahead, talk about Gallus.
I totally agree with this guy. Okay, so no, I totally agree. I think at some point all 3 of them should have the titles. I think I'd like to think that Joe is going to beat Pete Dunne for the championship, but I could see it still happening in 2019. I don't know about it happening at the first NXT
I was about to say,
takeover.
it may not happen at the takeover, but it's going to happen.
I actually have a prediction on this, and I'm going to get to that later because we've got that coming up too. I'm going to say that hopefully it happens before the end of 2019.
Yes.
Maybe that's how we end 2019, is all of Gallus is finally champion. But in the meantime, I think... well, I'm going to go ahead and get into one of my predictions because we challenged each other to have 3 bold predictions for both NXT and NXT UK. One of my bold predictions for NXT UK is that Gallus is going to recruit at least 1 new member.
Yeah.
By the end of 2019.
Do you think it's going to be a male or a female?
Oh, Ooh.
Because they can have their own queen if you think about
Yeah,
it.
and they really could have all the titles in that situation, as opposed to having 4 males and one of them doesn't hold a championship. So I really like that idea. So I'm gonna think about that, and I'm gonna have a prediction for who the female is gonna be when we get around to that.
That works well.
So I'll hold off on that. Okay. So you were gonna go into a female.
No, like since you answered your Gallus one, now it's my turn again.
All right. So I'm gonna give you. I know this one you want. Eddie Dennis.
Eddie Dennis. I'm hoping they actually start going into his, like what he was talking about initially, his feud with, I think it's God, I want to say, I'm trying to remember who he's actually. Pete Dunne was one of them, and Tyler Bate, I think it was the other one. I want to see him go after at least one or both of these individuals. I think it's going to be Tyler Bate actually first.
First, yeah, he's lower on the card.
Especially if him and Trent Seven aren't holding the tag belts at that point, and they're not really doing much of anything else. To have Eddie Dennis just pop out of nowhere, and almost ask him if he's, it's like, what, you forget why I came here? It's like
right.
you forget all about me. You look past me, and just have that feud go on for a little bit. Have Trent Seven do something else, whatever. Have him be injured again,
yeah, or have him at ringside, and Eddie Dennis has, who's his partner right now? Is it Saxon? No, it's not Saxon.
Eddie Dennis doesn't have a partner.
He doesn't have a partner.
No, he doesn't.
He needs to have a partner.
Right now he's in that feud with Dave Mastiff.
Oh, okay, so
yeah.
Maybe they end up having respect for each other and they partner up. They're like, we could totally dominate the tag team.
Because I don't see him going after Pete Dunne right now. Because I don't really see him as a title contender just yet.
Not after the loss to Mastiff, no.
No, that took away almost any or all momentum that he had going towards the belt at that point.
Because who was he beating up to that point? I mean, nobody's.
Nobody's, and then he loses to Mastiff. Kind of like Mastiff was beating up a bunch of nobodies at that point.
But at least he got to keep his momentum.
All right, so I'm going to go into my female wrestler, Jenny.
Jenny. I see Jenny getting at least one title shot against Rhea Ripley, which she will lose.
Of course.
Then from that point...
Not biased at all.
unless NXT does what Cindy G, the Duchess, predicted that she would do, they would do, and replicate her House of Couture stable,
yep,
where she becomes the lead of a bunch of girls that come in and just have her back, and maybe she can get the title that way. You might have to turn Rhea Ripley heel or turn her face, or have a transitional champion or whatever. But I could see that possibly happening. But more likely than not, after she loses to Rhea Ripley, I see her fading off and
I'm actually seeing an upswing in female factions in the WWE and NXT. So that's the other thing you and I were talking about. Like for NXT, what happens when Shayna Baszler gets called up? Is she going to have her two cronies with her going up too, or is she going to stick around there long enough that they get seasoned and get called up too?
Well, once she does get called up, she's just going to be second fiddle to Ronda Rousey unless she ends up on SmackDown. So,
fucking Ronda
let's
Rousey.
not talk about Ronda. He just bought the PWI 100 Greatest Women. And, okay, here's the elephant in the room. The last week he's been grumbling about Ronda Rousey. And let me let you guys in on what's going on. Because there's no format here. We're not really getting out of topic.
No, we're not.
Ronda Rousey was named #1 female superstar of the year in PWI, and he is incensed by this. I don't like it myself.
It's not even that. This is the first female 100. Like every other year that they've had the PWI top 50 wrestlers, they've expanded. They've made it more global, more recognized, more all the superstars, women, female superstars are in there this time. And who the fuck do they choose as their #1 for the inaugural 100? Ronda Rousey.
Who hasn't even been wrestling all year.
She's not the #1 in the world, okay? She's not the #1 in her company. It bothers the crap out of me because with PWI, yeah, granted, sometimes they play a lot to WWE. They really do. But at the same time, the past couple of years on the PWI 500, we've had New Japan stars top the 500 wrestlers. Kenny Omega and Okada have been the number one wrestler in the world in PWI 500 in the past 2 years. And what do? They take one step back, I think, with Ronda Rousey. Seriously. Number 2 is Alexa Bliss. I have to buy her over Ronda Rousey at this point. She's more seasoned. She's more talented.
I'm definitely okay with Alexa Bliss at number 2. But if Becky Lynch did not make number 1 by the end of the year, like, this doesn't make any sense. This had to have been finalized in like fucking August or some shit.
Exactly. That's what it is though. Like,
but it wasn't printed till later. Now my beef with this is that Rhea Ripley is like number 74.
Yes.
That is some bullshit. And they even have in her bio that she is the first ever NXT UK Women's Champion. You know, swinging this back to the NXT brand. But for fucking real, when did you guys vote on this? And at what point do you say, okay, Rhea Ripley needs to come ahead and Becky Lynch needs to be number 1 instead of Ronda Rousey?
Bianca Belair, undefeated in NXT. 85, I think she is. Like number 84 or 85.
Yeah, but look who she's undefeated against. There were a couple of good wins, but for the most part, her win that should have mattered never came because her and Nikki Cross couldn't finish a fucking match. So I have no gripe with Bianca Belair being at number 85, but Rhea Ripley, the first ever NXT UK Women's Champion, being 74, come the fuck on, man. If they hadn't have expanded it to 100, she wouldn't have been on the list.
I think they could have made it 101, put Ronda Rousey on fucking bottom.
I think the reason they should have expanded it from 50 to 100 is because Ronda Rousey should have been at 51.
Yes.
And we need to get her on the list, so we expand it. Somehow she made it to number 1. I don't know. I'm not as pissed off as he is, but I wanted to give him the platform to air his grievance because it's fun.
I think it's more mainstream exposure than anything else, and that's why they kind of went with it. But at the same time, that's a shitty reason for someone to be a number 1 wrestler. She's a standard bearer.
She's only been wrestling since WrestleMania.
I was about to say, she's the standard bearer for, like, all women wrestlers at this point. Sad. Fucking sad.
I think right now, she is the standard bearer for potential. She has shown the most potential in the, 9 months that she's wrestled, less than 9 months that she's wrestled this year, than any other superstar because she came from 0 to where she's at, and she's actually pretty good. She's not the best, though.
No.
She's not the best, so she should not be number 1.
Could she theoretically be most improved? Yes.
Far beyond everyone else.
Yes. She's improved greatly from not being a wrestler at all.
But not number 1. Certainly 51. I would give her that. Reason enough to expand it to 100. But the fact that Rhea Ripley didn't crack the top 50, that's beyond me. So anyway, I'm going to go with Candice LeRae for the female wrestler. What do you see next year?
I want to see her win the belt at least once before she gets the call up. Because I know she's going to get called up at least by 2020. I at least see that. But, like, right now they really don't have a lot going on with her because Baszler, she's on a hot streak at this point. She's doing fantastic.
So the reason I chose Candice LeRae was because for the male superstar, instead of going with somebody that would be in that main event picture with what's going on between Johnny Gargano and Tommaso Ciampa and Aleister Black, I figured she's one of those side characters that kind of is going along with this in her own way. She's kind of turning heel as Johnny Gargano is, but she's doing it on her own. And that's the reason I wanted to bring her up.
Well,
that part of her character and that piece of her in that storyline. Where do you see that going?
Well, the thing is with that is if they do somehow decide they're going to bring back together DIY and make them almost like not even a heel tag team, just a faction. Have like Ciampa be the champion and Gargano be the North American champion.
We got into NXT. Well, that's okay. We can do that too. I still have a female superstar from NXT UK that I want to bring up.
And we will, because I saw the male NXT UK. But with...
It's my fault.
No, it's fine. We have no format. We just got to talk for like 5 minutes about Ronda fucking Rousey.
We'll go back and edit it all up. Chop suey.
But we... with that, I would like to see Candice LeRae win the women's belt. and then all three of them, if they'd be the DIY almost heel faction version of them, kind of like we have with Gallus.
So you'd have her with the women's championship, you'd have Gargano with the North American championship, and you'd have Ciampa with the NXT championship.
Mm-hmm.
That would be fun.
That'd be a fun stable to have naturally because they are unstable.
And then you break them up because you put a love triangle in there where you think that Candice is cheating on Johnny with Ciampa.
And she's actually cheating with Goldie.
That would be a weird swerve. Alright, so hit me with the male superstar from NXT UK.
Fabian Eichner.
Oh, wow. Okay, so we already know that Fabian Eichner is about to be put into a tag team with somebody. What's his name? He's got a name. Are you Marcel Bartel?
Yeah, yeah.
Were you trying to let me think of it, or could you not think of it either?
I knew it was I knew
this
it was
is our job, man. Well, we
Yeah.
don't get paid for it, so I'm all right.
I think it's too early in the day. We established that we're like filming this stuff at like 11 o'clock midnight. It's actually not even 9 o'clock. I don't think yet.
I have no idea what time it is.
We're almost at 10, so that's whatever. But Fabian Eichner.
Fabian Eichner. So he is not going to get anywhere near the NXT Tag Team Championships, I don't think, before this tag team breaks up. This is just a means to an end. It's going to lead to a 4-person feud, him and Bartel versus Mandrews and Flash Morgan Webster.
Way to go! You nailed it! The man with 3 names!
The man with 3 names. So, after that match, fuck if I know, he's not ready for... Well, no, okay, so if Pete Dunne wins at NXT UK TakeOver, is it Blackpool or Liverpool?
I want to say... we kept on switching between Blackpool and Liverpool. I think it's Liverpool.
I wrote it down. Blackpool. TakeOver Blackpool.
Okay.
So, if Pete Dunne wins at TakeOver Blackpool, then I would say Fabian Eichner could be one of those guys that challenges for him for the belt on NXT television or NXT UK television and fails. Then goes back down to the mid-card, and then maybe he starts a feud with, who knows? By this point, it could be anybody.
I can see him actually getting a feud with Mastiff after he's done with the whole Eddie Dennis thing.
Only if they're planning on feeding him to Mastiff. I really don't want them to do that. I want them to give him a feud with somebody that he actually can overcome as a heel and move beyond. Hopefully, like I said, into a championship picture.
I'm starting to realize we really don't have a lot of faces in NXT UK.
At least not a lot of ones that are credible.
Yeah.
All the credible people are big bad heels.
Or
we have Mastiff, but he seems to be
super
turning
duper talented like Jordan
heel.
Devlin. So.
Okay, so Isla Dawn. What do you see for Isla Dawn?
I don't see her winning the NXT UK title or women's title at all. I can't get into her. I tried to, I really did, but like she kind of reminds me almost like a female Gangrel.
Well, this is also a little bit predictions here, so let me give you some freedom to, because the reason I wanted to bring up Isla Dawn is because of this paradox in her character.
Yeah.
And what would you do with Isla Dawn in 2019? Because you know she's probably not going for the NXT UK Women's Championship again anytime soon. Where do you build her character to a point to where she can again?
I'm not comfortable turning her a heel because like she's not
predictable.
She's not charismatic enough to be a heel. Like the only reason her interview the other night on NXT UK was so entertaining is the fact that Jenny interrupted. Like she made her stop talking.
This is true.
So with Isla Dawn, she'd have to take on a darker edge for her character, but I don't see her doing it. I still see her almost playing to the crowd, not being really intelligible to a point where, like, you know, anybody's going to hold on to, she's not going to hold on to anybody's attention. I really don't see her going anywhere in NXT UK. I see her jobbing out to, like, people coming in, if anything. Like, even then, I see Charlie Morgan even beating her at this point.
I think I have to take issue with you saying she's not charismatic enough to be a heel. I think she's not charismatic enough to be a face. I think the only way to save her character is to turn her heel. She's probably made her name as a heel. I have no idea. Maybe not. Maybe not. Maybe she's been this weird, complicated face the whole time. But she seems like a heel character. She seems like she would probably be more charismatic if she was allowed to be a heel character. I say turn her heel, allow her to go full bore. For God's sake, give her finishing move a name.
Yep.
Because it is way too original not to have a name. And maybe it's not original, I've just never seen it. But if you haven't mentioned it, Cindy hasn't mentioned it, Noah didn't mention it, and I don't think
Hebert or Finch.
Finch. Oh, I think Owen Finch probably would have mentioned it.
Yeah.
So, if Owen didn't know, I think he would. Yeah, if Owen didn't know, then she probably doesn't have a name for this finisher, and she needs one. And I love that finisher.
Yeah. That's it. That's like one of her only saving graces at this point. That and a relatively cool entrance. So, if they actually expanded her character, at least made her a heel or made her a face, one or the other. Let us know what we're watching here so we can critique it.
And take the fangs out.
Oh yes.
Even if you still have a lisp, let's hear it in all of its regular glory instead of being accentuated by the fangs.
Yes.
Okay, so hit me with somebody from NXT.
Okay, I'm going to actually give you a choice. Would you like the male superstar, the female superstar, or the tag team?
Start easy. Let's go with the tag team.
You already know where I'm going to go with this. The Street Profits.
Oh, damn. All right, so this is going to be another one because I picked the Street Profits too. So I'll just go first. All right, Street Profits. First of all, they need a real fucking feud. Something that's about more than just the chains and their cup. And they need it to be something that isn't a bunch of matches in a row, especially ones that don't matter. It needs to build up. So, obviously, they need to be next in line to challenge for the NXT Tag Team Championships. Because they are a babyface team. It makes all the sense in the world. It actually looks like a matchup when you put them across the ring from Kyle O'Reilly and either Bobby Fish or Robert Strong.
Yeah, Roderick.
Yeah. God. Too many names in a row.
That's fine.
It doesn't matter who you put them across from. It looks like an actual matchup. As opposed to guys like the War Raiders or guys like Heavy Machinery that look like they should be squashing Kyle O'Reilly at least. Roderick Strong's a little bit bigger.
Well, you have the powerhouses in Dawkins and Strong, and you have like the quickness and the almost like aerial type abilities from Montez Ford and Kyle O'Reilly. It would just be an awesome match to watch. I'd even watch it as a ladder match. That's what I would like to see.
Yes.
A ladder match between those two teams would be brilliant.
Yes.
Because Roderick Strong, he would deliver a backbreaker or some variation off the top of a ladder. And that would just...
Onto a ladder, set up at various spots.
Yes.
Don't get me wrong, I'd love to see a TLC match, but I think adding chairs, adding tables, way too complicated.
Yeah.
Ladder match, you can drag out a table if you need a table.
Yeah.
Without making it a TLC match or anything. Ladder match, perfect.
Yes.
I would love to see that match. So I think that's where they need to go almost immediately.
I want to see Kyle O'Reilly get the taste slapped out of his mouth by Dawkins and Montez Ford. Yet they just go out to a crowd cracking up about it. Because anytime like Dawkins knocks anybody down like that, I automatically start laughing and clapping. I don't do that with a lot of face teams. I'm a heel guy through and through. But I love the Street Profits to death because they're so damn entertaining. You have Ford just flying everywhere.
I was going to say, Montez Ford by himself makes the Street Profits everything they need to be. Dawkins just needs to be there. And sometimes he is just there, but sometimes he puts on a really good show.
Yeah.
So, credit to him, it's not just Montez Ford.
He's more powerhouse and like... Whereas Montez Ford is more finesse. He's got more of the flying abilities. He's got more speed. Dawkins, he'll pick you up. He'll throw you around and everything.
Do you see them winning the championships?
But see, that's tough because I want to see them win the championships, but at the same time...
Do you want to see them beat the Undisputed Era for them?
I really don't know. I know that match would be phenomenal. That'd be one of those takeover matches that I would not be able to decide on in any way, shape, or form.
UE has held those championships long enough. They've not got anything left to prove.
Yeah.
I say give it to the Street Profits. Let the Street Profits become a tag team.
Viable tag team.
Let them become a main event tag team as opposed to just where they're at. And then feud them again with the Undisputed Era later. Since obviously we're not getting... Well, hopefully they're going to extend that no rematch clause into UK and NXT.
Well, I was about to say, but since Bianca's seemingly sticking around for a while, have her get into a groove, and then also if the DIY faction does become a thing, it'd be cool to see them against Ciampa, Gargano, and Candice LeRae.
That would be cool too. Is that where you see it going after that?
I don't see it necessarily going that way, but it
pairing with them.
But Bianca, yeah. I see. If anything, if they get called up, I think Bianca's going to go with them. That's pretty much like either the
like if Gargano gets called up, chances are we're getting Candice LeRae too. They come as a team.
It's not just because they're husband and wife or anything.
Kind of like when Kevin Owens gets drafted to Raw, so does Sami Zayn.
Yes. We went from husband and wife to Sami Zayn and Owens.
I would not put it past them to be that good of friends that they have it in their contracts that whatever show one on, the other has to be on.
You'd have to see some of the great matches they had as Kevin Steen and El Generico, man. They just tore it up, whether they be a tag team or
maybe that's the reason they always keep them on the same show, is because when all else fails, you could just put them in the ring against each other, and you've got an instant classic feud for a month, 2 months.
Absolutely.
So next I want to go with, well, all I've got left is the male superstar of NXT, Velveteen Dream.
Well, Velveteen Dream can pretty much accomplish anything he wants to accomplish, and that's really cool. But I could actually see him holding the North American title. Whether he be, like you said, like him and Gargano would put on a clinic, I think, regardless. Or him and Ricochet even. Maybe like they'll have their rematch, because they had a match a while back, I think it was, before I started actually. We started doing the NXT reviews, because I saw Ricochet confront him at one point and like just completely do this awesome flip onto the outside of the ring. So I know they've fought, but at the same time, to revisit that and have Velveteen Dream win the belt, I can see that going down, because I don't really see him going after a championship just yet. I want to see him wearing gold, just not that gold.
It's amazing how in sync our minds can get about certain things, because I'm actually going to bring up almost exactly what you just talked about later, but I'm going to save that for later, because otherwise I'm going to have nothing to talk about when we get into our actual predictions. I actually think I ended up going twice. You have 2 more for me. I have none for you.
Okay. Let's see. Candice LeRae was one of them.
Oh, well, so basically I talked about that.
Yep.
I didn't really put in... I think Candice LeRae does not need to win the NXT Women's Championship in between now and her call-up, but it would be nice.
Yeah.
It would also be nice to see Gargano win the NXT Championship, but he doesn't need to.
No.
So it would be nice, but not necessary. Mostly, I see Candice LeRae staying in the main event picture as a 50-50 player. Somebody that wins a lot. She can get into matches either for the number one contender for the women's championship, or in a match for the women's championship, but not necessarily win.
Yeah.
I feel like she's just going to play around in the upper mid card of the women's division in NXT until she gets called up. It would be cool to see her get, as you had said, paired with Johnny Gargano and Tommaso Ciampa. If that ever came down, that would be really cool to see the 3 of them as a heel faction.
Mm-hmm.
But other than that, I think she's just fine being in the main event for a while until she gets called up.
Yep.
So who's the male superstar?
Mr. Keith Lee.
Oh, Keith Lee. Okay. I think Keith Lee will get a run at least the North American Championship. Maybe not the NXT Championship. I don't see Keith Lee getting in the title picture either until the very end of the year or until 2020.
Yeah.
I also don't see him getting called up anytime soon, because they won't need him anytime soon. They've got way too many people on the main roster as it is. So unless they're planning on getting rid of a whole bunch of people, which I could see happening anyway, but they also want to keep as many people as they can, because you got AEW starting up, and you don't want them to start snatching up people that are former WWE that can help numbers and ratings and all of that. So
Yep.
who the fuck knows? But I think even NXT is so crowded right now. A guy that is as big and charismatic as Keith Lee, I still don't see him getting into the main event NXT Championship title picture for a while.
Yep. All right.
But I could see him turning heel on again, I
Matt
forget his
Riddle.
name. There we go. Thank God for you and your memory. I could see him turning heel on Matt Riddle, and that being a mid-card feud for him. Maybe even for the NXT North American Championship, but not really.
No. I don't see it for being for a belt, if anything. I just see it
I think
being
it's more likely he pairs up with Matt Riddle and they go for the tag team championships. But even still, that would be halfway through the year. So, before we get into our bold predictions, we're going to get into a spot. We're going to pick out every year if we keep doing this and we make it to the next year and the next year and the next year and so forth.
the NXT.
Everybody has their Hall of Fame, their year-end awards, their Slammies, their whatevers. We feel like NXT UK's only had 20 episodes. As far as NXT goes, we've only been covering it for maybe half the year. So we're just going to pick one person and one match, one superstar, male or female, and one match, male or female. And we're going to give that an X, not a star.
But an X.
Not a General's 5-star, but we're going to give them an X on the NXT Walk of Fame, and the What's NXT Walk of Fame and the NXT Party Walk of Fame.
Yes.
So this is one that we have discussed prior.
Mm-hmm.
We already know our pick. Do you want to do the match of the year first, or do you want to do?
Let's go do the match of the year.
So this was pretty easy for NXT UK. We've only had 3 NXT Championship matches for the men's title. We've only had 3 for the women's title, and only one of those was really worth anything. Or has it only been 2? No, it's been 3 because there was Isla Dawn and then there was the debuting. Her name's in here, Deonna Purrazzo.
Yeah.
We're going with men's because of 2 reasons: Pete Dunne and Jordan Devlin.
Yes. That match, I was already psyched for, but then when it actually went down, it exceeded my expectations more than anything else on this planet. It was just beautifully crafted from start to finish. Granted, you didn't really have that sense that Pete Dunne was going to lose, but Jesus, did Jordan Devlin come close in that match a whole bunch of times. So, and now we're probably going to get that again, hopefully this next year, at least once. It will be Pete Dunne versus Jordan Devlin. Will it be for the belt? Who knows? But, if it is for the belt, I could actually see Jordan Devlin possibly pulling it off.
This might have been the match that turned me around on Jordan Devlin. Because I went from not liking his character to not liking him because of his character.
Mm-hmm.
And to me, that's an important difference.
That's important for a heel.
Because even though I don't like him, I find myself enjoying and being entertained by him and liking him in that aspect. And that's the great pool that you have with a good heel, is that you want to boo him, but at the same time you want to cheer him despite yourself.
Yeah.
So I kind of feel for Jordan Devlin how most of UK feels about Zach Gibson, I think. I hate him so much that I want to show my respect by booing him, I guess. So we're going with Jordan Devlin and Pete Dunne for the UK Championship. I don't remember what episode this was. We should have looked that up, but we did not. For the NXT X or NXT UK X on the NXT Party Walk of Fame.
Yes.
Something like that. We'll get it better next year.
Yeah.
So, Superstar of the Year, not even close. As much as I love Rhea Ripley.
Mm-hmm.
Not even close.
No.
Pete Dunne.
Pete Dunne steals the show.
By and far. And he's only been on 4 episodes.
But as we've established, he's the man. He's the guy. He's the standard bearer for the company, and damn good one at that. He the matches he does put on, instant classics regardless. Even the one against Noam Dar. I had no choice but to like that match because Pete Dunne was so damn good in it.
Pete Dunne has been amazing. Not only all year though, but I mean for most of 2017. I mean, he's held the title for almost 2 years.
Yes.
We're getting so close to the 2 year mark, and he might actually make it. If he's going to face Joe Coffey at Blackpool, I think odds are better that he keeps the belt than he loses it. Even though I'd like to see Joe Coffey take it. Pete Dunne is just on fire right now. There is no other way to put it. And it's not like he's on fire because they want him to be, and so he is, and blah, 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 Roman Reigns push down your throat kind of thing.
He deserves it.
He gets in the ring on NXT UK television, not just pay-per-views. He gets in the ring on the network, and he proves why he is the NXT UK champion and why he has held it for as long as he has. He's fucking amazing.
The main topic we've had, like, short of Gallus on NXT UK, between me, you, and any of the guests that we've had on the show, has been who will take the title out of Pete Dunne's mouth.
Not who will. Who can.
Yes.
Who?
We haven't seen, people, like anybody really show that legitimate threat since Joe. Joe's actually
Let's save that for the main event.
Yes.
I think I want to add that to our original itinerary. We're going to save for the very end of this let's pick one apiece. Who can defeat Pete Dunne for the championship?
Yes.
This is where normally you would take over for a minute. Okay, so our superstar of the year was Pete Dunne, and our match of the year was a Pete Dunne match with Jordan Devlin. So let's go on. Let's move on to our next point here. We want to do predictions, not just predictions, bold predictions. For NXT and NXT UK, we have each come up with 3.
Yep.
And I'm going to let you start because I still have to finish writing this.
Well, I didn't know if you wanted to do
we'll save that.
Or the Walk of Fame for the last one?
Yep.
Okay. My 3 bold predictions for... I'm going to go with NXT UK first because that's our bread and butter. That's what we've been covering since the beginning. For all 20 episodes we've done, like, reviews for. So, 1, what was mentioned a little while ago, that Gallus is going to hold all the gold by the end of the year. That's actually a pretty bold prediction because you really don't see that happen a lot anymore. Not since Evolution in WWE has there been, a faction really as dominant right now as Gallus is in NXT UK. So I want to see all 3 of them win the belts and just be standing at the top of the ramp looking all sorts of, powerful and dominating. Okay.
I'm going to go next then.
Okay.
NXT UK, I'm predicting, me of all people, go figure, Rhea Ripley keeps that NXT UK Women's Championship all year.
I can see it happening.
From New Year's Day to New Year's Eve.
Yep.
She keeps it for a full year plus.
That is a pretty bold prediction.
Because you never know, but at the same time, why not?
Only way I really can see her losing that match is in some sort of triple threat match where she doesn't even get pinned for losing the belt.
Okay, you go.
All right. My next NXT UK prediction, and this one is something that I feel just needs to happen. Because I'm always on this guy that I don't like him, I don't see the big deal with him or anything, and that's Flash Morgan Webster. I think he needs to go heel. Really, really needs to go heel. He's got the cockiness, he's got the ridiculous outfits he wears to the ring, he's got that helmet he carries around, which could obviously be used as a foreign object in a match. Just have him go, get pissed off about, losing so much with managers and have them get in a feud against each other.
So this is a prediction, though. So you're predicting he does go heel.
Yes, that's actually a prediction / hope right there. Is the fact that he's got that charisma to him, but he's just not being used in the right way. He needs to be a heel. He looks like one of the Gallagher brothers from Oasis, for God's sakes, and you just want to punch those guys in the face. And with him, even if he gets injured, I want to see him be a manager of a heel team. because he's just got that heel quality to him. I look at him and I'm like, man, I want to hate your guts. This needs to happen. So,
Well, my other prediction was the one that I mentioned, or one of my other predictions for NXT UK that was the one I mentioned before, was that Gallus recruit at least one new member by the end of the year. So I'm going to go with my only other one, and I want to preface this by saying he's not in the company yet, so I'm not going to use him for our main event. But I actually think, as a bold prediction, that Walter ends up being the person that defeats Pete Dunne for the NXT UK Championship.
I've heard lots of things about Walter. I've not gotten to see him in action.
Me neither.
I've heard.
But from what I've heard, I feel like that is a bold prediction.
Yes.
So let's find out your last bold prediction for NXT UK.
Zach Gibson holds the world title, the NXT UK belt by the end of the year.
I could see that.
If Pete Dunne drops the belt to anybody, I see Zach Gibson picking up the scraps, and he actually wins the belt. But that, like I said, that's a bold prediction.
That is a bold prediction.
But at the same time, the heat he's already got on him at this point for NXT UK.
Well, they've already thrust him into the tag team title picture, and it looks like he might actually be one of the first tag team title holders.
And yeah, that'd be.
So
That'd be the thing, though.
Okay.
He'd be like the number one for doing that, and then he'll be the number one man to beat Pete Dunne, like, for the belt.
As much as I like Zach Gibson, and as much as I think he is definitely main event, I don't know if they're gonna. Because how do you get it from Pete Dunne onto Zach Gibson?
I don't know, but that'd be an interesting ride.
I guess so. So let's get into our bold NXT predictions.
Yes.
So I will go first. I think that by the end of the year, Undisputed Era breaks up.
Oh, that's inevitable.
I know it's inevitable. I mean, I'm sure it's going to happen at some point if they don't get called up out of the blue first.
Yeah. Oh,
and they don't have a chance to do that story.
Another shakeup after the Rumble, or maybe even WrestleMania.
I don't think we're going to see a shakeup after the Rumble. We've got 6 coming up now, but maybe after WrestleMania. But still, unless they get snatched up out of nowhere and they don't get a chance to put on this story, I believe before 2019 is over, so will the Undisputed Era. They'll be over. That is my first bold prediction. What about you, sir?
I'm going to go in the same vein right there, because I think Adam Cole is going to get ousted from the group. I think they're going to perform a coup on Adam Cole. Maybe they'll bring in somebody else as a new Infacto leader.
Maybe we should have shared these with each other so that we made sure we didn't double up on our predictions.
I like that dynamic, because that shows like that you and I are on the same page. But
Apparently.
then we have like our differences when it comes to like what I said about Zach Gibson a little bit. Yeah. So I see like Aaron Ripped actually made a comment about this on one of his other broadcasts that I'm mentioning on ours. He actually mentioned that Adam Cole should get ousted from the group and become almost like a babyface, probably, at least for his last run in NXT. But I think he should just get ousted from the group and go straight over to Raw or SmackDown as the heel, because that's what people are expecting out of Adam Cole. They want that cockiness. They want the Adam Cole baby, even though they yell and chant it.
My only problem with that is that Adam Cole's momentum really only comes with him if he either comes with the group or somehow manages to defeat the whole group by himself. Otherwise, he shows up with nothing. Like, other than people know to say Bebe when he says Bebe, he shows up with no momentum, no nothing. He doesn't look like the kind of guy that's going to jump in the ring and beat John Cena on his first night.
Well, near to Carlito, but he ended up doing it.
Check and mate, sir. Okay, so maybe, but I just don't see it. I don't see Adam Cole looking like much of anything without the Undisputed Era behind him. Like, I think when they break up, it's going to be Adam Cole taking the best 2 or the best sidekick that he can, and it'll be 2 versus 2, something like that.
So you think it'd probably be him and Strong?
Yeah, him and Roderick versus the actual tag team champions.
Well, you actually, like I was about to say, you already have Bobby Fish and Kyle O'Reilly as, like, back as Red Dragon back in Ring of Honor.
Yeah, they just make sense. They make sense as the tag team because they were the tag team before Roderick Strong came in. He just came in to sub for Bobby Fish while he was out with injury. Bobby Fish is back. he should be the tag team champions with him now. I just think.
So maybe Adam Cole gets ousted, Roderick Strong takes offense to it, and Bobby Fish and Kyle O'Reilly.
There's a dozen ways to tell that story. I'm just predicting that they break up.
That would be an awesome tag match in general too. Strong and Cole versus Bobby Fish and Kyle O'Reilly.
Or maybe they go to oust Adam Cole, and then Roderick Strong takes his side. It ends up being 2-on-2, and then we get 1 or 2 matches out of that. But whatever the blow-off match is, it ends up that Adam Cole stabs Roderick Strong in the back to get back in the good graces of O'Reilly and Fish, and then that's when he shows up on the main roster with O'Reilly and Fish behind him as the original
Undisputed Era.
Yeah.
That would actually work out very well too.
I just put that together in my head just now.
It was.
That's just what I do.
Mm-hmm. It worked out well.
I just don't do it professionally.
Okay.
So
might as well.
My second bold prediction for NXT is that Ricochet becomes NXT champion.
I can see that happening too. Especially since my next prediction is he drops the belt to his North American title to Johnny Gargano. So okay. that only actually that's the other dynamic I was actually wanting to take too. Maybe Ciampa loses his belt to Aleister Black this coming pay-per-view, but then Johnny Gargano beats Ricochet for the North American title, and then you have those two feud again all over again over the North American belt.
I think I'd rather see Gargano and Ciampa get back together at this point than feud again.
But that's the thing though. Either way, it's gonna be great television and great matches.
This is true. So my next prediction, or my final prediction for NXT, my bold prediction, just goes right along with Ricochet becoming the NXT champion. I think Velveteen Dream. This is where I think him and Ricochet get back into it.
Yeah.
And revisit their feud from the North American Championship, only this time for the NXT Championship. And I don't know whether to say Velveteen Dream actually gets the title or not by the end of the year, but I certainly see this feud happening by the end of the year for the NXT Championship this time.
Well, that would be really great.
It'd be weird if that was right, but somehow Velveteen Dream's the one holding the title.
Yep.
But either way, I'd love to see those two in the ring again, especially for a title that should give them a 5-minute longer match. You know, just something to add a little spice to the nice. So, our next point here that we want to do for the show.
Don't I get to do my third prediction?
Oh, I'm so sorry. I haven't done that since episode 2 of this show. Forget that Jerry had a point to make. I'm sorry.
Oh, asshole.
No, you're absolutely right. I want to hear your last prediction.
Well, we already touched base on it regardless, but at the same time, I want to see Keith Lee go heel. I want to see him and Matt Riddle start attacking.
You predict that he goes heel.
Yeah, I predict that he goes heel.
Okay.
I want to the whole idea is him and Matt Riddle form a tag team. They may get a couple good wins, but they don't get the belts. Keith Lee gets angry or bitter or jealous about it and takes out Matt Riddle, and that starts a feud between those two. Because then you actually have Matt Riddle against a formidable foe. Sorry, Cassius Ohno, I can't really see you as that anymore.
That's a simple story to tell. Either Matt Riddle ends up getting the pinned or submitted, well, probably pinned. Matt Riddle gets pinned to lose the opportunity they have at the tag championships, and
Keith Lee takes exception.
He takes exception to it, or Keith Lee gets pinned, and he feels like a failure, but in order to mask that, he puts the blame somehow on Matt Riddle for causing him to get pinned. Some shit like that. You know, that's even more real.
Pretty much any, shade put on his glory.
It depends on what kind of heel you want to portray, because, if Matt Riddle's the one that gets pinned, then he's just kind of a badass, pissed off guy. But if he's the one that gets pinned and somehow still tries to blame it on Matt Riddle...
Yeah, you're a delusional heel.
So it all depends on where you want to go with him, but I could see that happening easy, and puts it somewhere around the middle of the year. We'll see it. Maybe we'll see that match play out when we go up to Toronto for SummerSlam. That would be awesome. So, as I was saying before, like I said before I so rudely skipped Jerry, what we want to do here is, what are we looking forward to or hoping for next year. So this is kind of outside of the box of me giving you a superstar or a faction or something like that. Just what are you looking forward to out of NXT or NXT UK or just our shows, the What's NXT show or the NXT party?
Well, naturally, I want more guests on the NXT party. We had 4 extraordinary guests over this past year. Well, we're going to go ahead and do that shout out right now.
Oh, absolutely. Shout out to Cindy G. She was our very first. She's also the first ever 3-time guest. And hopefully when we do predictions for Blackpool, she'll be the first ever 4-time guest.
Yep.
So that'll be awesome.
And then we have the Simple Man, Noah Foster, who's done 2 shows with us, and he's been excellent. A fountain of knowledge. I wish we still call
Oh, speaking of fountain of knowledge, the Birdman, Owen Finch, the Birdman of Boston. He is a absolute fountain of knowledge. I love how all of our guests come on here and the shows that we've missed because we didn't watch either of the tournaments. They did, and they have very good memories. And so we really appreciate that.
They come in knowing their shit, and it's always awesome. And then we had James Hebert as well. The
knowing your shit.
Yep, he knows his shit as well. And we just love the idea of having more people on here so we can have like the open discussions and open topics and whatnot.
Absolutely.
And the fact that we don't really have a lot of knowledge on like the tournaments, like you said. And the tournaments are playing very heavily into also storylines for NXT UK more than anything. So that's been really helpful. We want to say thank you guys for attending our tea party.
Yeah, absolutely. And we want to do the shout out. We can do the shout out now if you want. For anybody that wants to be on the big screen for a future episode of NXT Party, I believe we already have our guest for next week. It should be an old friend of mine, Martin Elstone. He's actually getting caught up on like 2 months worth of NXT UK just to be on the show. So I really appreciate it if you're watching out there, Martin. Yeah, he was getting his Skype in sync, getting that ready to go. I really appreciate that too. We've had our fair share of Skype problems trying to get those shows recorded. Thank God we don't do them live. So I want to give a shout out to our next guest, Martin Elstone. We will come up with a nickname before you get on the show, my friend. Or like we do with most everybody else, we'll come up with a nickname right before we air.
And they usually work out pretty well.
Well, speaking of our shows then, I mean, it's a really cheap way to say, something I'm looking forward to. But this right here, this is my next notebook for taking notes for NXT and NXT UK. It is the handbook for the recently deceased. And it has no lines. So that's actually going to help.
Yeah.
It's going to look horrible, but it's going to help because the one with lines, I like to write a lot smaller than the lines give me. So I look forward to this. I also look forward to NXT UK's pay-per-views. Yes. I don't know how far apart they're going to be, but the fact that we are finally getting one signifies 2 things for me. And this is another thing I'm looking forward to.
1 episode a week.
1 episode, hopefully. If we're catching up to live TV where NXT UK TakeOver Blackpool is going to be live, then hopefully every episode from that point on is going to be much like NXT, where it is recorded, 3 or 4 weeks in advance, and then they just play those and then record more.
Yes.
So I'm hopefully looking forward to 1 episode per week of that, because those 2 episodes a week require a late night.
Yes.
You got to think an hour to watch it, and then probably an hour to an hour and a half just to do the review of it after everything else, and editing and everything. It's really a bummer. But I'm looking forward to 1 episode a week. As far as the products go, what are you looking forward to?
Well, I want to see a couple more well-established stars show up in NXT UK. Naturally, the first words out of my mouth would be Zack Sabre Jr. I would love the idea of seeing him in NXT UK at some point. Even if it's just almost like a one-off type show that Triple H somehow gets pulled together, that would be awesome.
Like another tournament.
Yes. Have him pop up in a tournament if anything. Just have him win that night and get a title shot. He doesn't have to stay in the company the entire time. That'd be fine.
Get a title shot next night. Pete Dunne wins. He goes back to wherever he was.
Yes.
That's cool. That's another thing. Yeah, I'm looking forward to more people in NXT UK, especially stars. And I don't mean stars that we already know. I mean people that have, and characters that have that star quality. The ones that come in that either on their way to the ring or once they start doing their thing in the ring, that they're somebody that's going to entertain you every week. And so far, we've gotten a few of those. I think Joe Coffey, in his very slow, methodical way, has proved that he can do that. I think, of course, Pete Dunne, but well prior to the 20 episodes of NXT UK that we've gotten, has proven that. But there's been several others. Mark Andrews, as far as the mid card goes, he can put on a very, very entertaining match.
Yes.
Ligero can put on a really entertaining match. We've even got jobbers that put on an entertaining match. They go out there and they entertain you before they take a pinfall.
Yeah.
The problem for me...
The enhancement talent is off the charts in NXT and NXT UK.
The problem for me right now is emotional investment.
Pretty much.
It's only been 20 episodes. So hopefully we have maybe 56 if we've got 2 more weeks. Or how many more weeks do we have till Blackpool? 2 weeks.
Yeah.
So it'll be like 54.
54.
54 episodes next year. Something like that. So hopefully in 54 more episodes, we can actually start getting emotionally invested because they've given us feuds that have lasted longer than 2 or 3 episodes. They've given us storylines and groups and...
It's pretty much like the building of a great trilogy or something. You have to have, like, you know, the first part establishes the story, second part continues it, third part ends it. We're getting to the end of the first part of the trilogy.
We're getting to the end of the prologue. We've only established characters at this point. The only long-standing storyline is Gallus. That is it. Everything else lasts just long enough until the blow-off match.
Yeah.
We are currently in storylines that have lasted more than a few episodes, like Eddie Dennis and Mastiff, but that is quickly going to end too by way of everything else. I'm looking for long-standing reasons to put emotional investment into the entertainment payoff.
Yeah.
Other than just watching matches that are incredible.
Yes.
I can do that. I can watch matches that are incredible, but eventually I'm not even gonna be close to a 4-star, let alone 5-star rating, because I'm gonna get bored with the idea that that's all I'm gonna get.
Just matches between these two and really no established feud whatsoever, no emotional investment into it.
And we're not going to get that out of any new superstar. So as much as I'm looking forward to some of the bigger names that they can hopefully get, I'm also looking forward to them establishing what they've got in a way that I want to see them get beat by these new guys, or beat these new guys.
About to say, emotional investment is something that played heavily into our pick for the NXT Walk of Fame match of the year.
Yeah. So I don't really have much for NXT other than I just hope they keep doing what they're fucking doing. I have no complaints really out of 2018's NXT that I've seen, from the NXT Chicago takeover that I went to all of the takeovers that I've seen all year long. I've been watching the takeovers at least for the last 2 years. I just wasn't watching the NXT program until maybe just before halfway through this year.
I think this past year or past year and a half, we've seen like Nakamura, Rude, and like even Finn Balor and all of them just kind of move up from NXT. You would think that the NXT product would suffer in some way, shape, or form. It just hasn't. If anything, it's getting stronger and stronger by the day. And you're getting more, not really the homegrown feel, because a lot of these wrestlers are already super established. They're consignment talents, as I like to call them. But, you know, the whole new to you thing. But they're actually getting to a point where they bring in these superstars. They know how to use these superstars. They'll even use old feuds if they have to, just to get them up and running. But either way, it feels organic. It doesn't feel forced.
That is true.
They don't like push anybody down your throats in NXT in any way, shape, or form. The fans get to decide if they like you or they hate you. Simple as that. And after that, you just get better product, because the wrestlers vibe off that shit too.
Oh,
if it doesn't feel natural to them, or they're being told to do something that they're not comfortable doing, or just aren't used to doing, it's gonna like really affect the product. You don't get that with NXT. You don't get that with NXT UK. You just get these guys that know exactly what works for them, and that everybody plays off of it, and it's beautiful, it's perfect, it's symmetry, it's good.
And despite the fact that they record most of their episodes several weeks in advance, they don't seem to get hurt too bad when somebody gets injured or somebody goes home or gets plucked or whatever.
Yeah.
They seem to rebound very well from losing people, even top stars. They lost Aleister Black to a freak accident. Shout out to Lars Sullivan. But no, a freak accident. You know, he got crotched during a match. They lost him for a few months. They wrote him out seamlessly and actually turned it into one of the bigger storylines of the year.
Mm-hmm. Him and Gargano, weirdly enough.
So, my hat's off to NXT. I enjoy 2018, and I'm sure that I will enjoy 2019. I have nothing to look forward to differently, other than maybe update their set or something. Maybe because I mean it is their university or arena.
Let's talk announce
Change
team.
up the set a little.
Let's talk announce team real quick. We haven't really talked announce team at all. Like, granted, we didn't write any of that stuff down, but at the same time, we can go ahead and talk about the announce teams for both brands.
You put Paige on NXT UK, so you've got your what WC or WWE seems to like the 3-person announce team. You put her in that announce team for a year or two so that you get her feet wet and get her used to doing it, so that you can bring her up to SmackDown, so that you'll have a female on the announce team on SmackDown as well.
Yeah.
As far as NXT goes, get rid of Nigel McGuinness.
Yes.
Kick him over to NXT UK to stay. I will deal with him on one show, but not both.
Yep.
And for that matter, as far as where you put Paige, I say you go ahead and, even though a lot of people like the fact that Corey Graves is on both Raw and SmackDown, I think you can take away his double duty, put Paige in that spot. That way you're not getting rid of Byron Saxton. And because as mediocre as Byron Saxton is, it's better to have a mediocre person that says the right things that he's told to say and doesn't like trip over himself and say weird things and call moves weird names and shit like that. He may be boring, but he does his job actually quite decently.
Yeah.
So, yeah, give Corey Graves a break. Let him stay on Raw. Put Paige on SmackDown on the commentating team in a couple of years.
Yeah. Because Mauro Ranallo is still like the man when it comes to announcing.
Who do you replace Nigel McGuinness with on NXT?
That's the tough part, because I really don't like Vic Joseph either.
No, leave him on NXT UK as well.
Oh, that's a tough call. That'd be something I have to think on for a while, though. Because, like, you don't really have many British wrestlers, and hell, maybe even bring Finlay on to talk.
What about Booker T?
Would he be using the King Booker like voice at that point?
This is NXT, not NXT UK, so I would say go away from that.
Oh, I thought you were talking about NXT UK.
No, because on NXT UK you would have Vic Joseph, Nigel McGuinness, and Paige.
Yeah. Okay. Well, yeah.
So who do you replace Nigel McGuinness with on NXT?
Oh, that could be anybody then. But yeah, I could actually kind of see Booker T in a role. That'd be excellent. Especially, like, him and Mauro Ranallo play well off each other. And Percy Watson, he's actually
I'd say you find another female.
Yeah.
I say you find another female sticker in that role. They've got plenty of... Lillian Garcia... Oh, no, Beth Phoenix.
Beth Phoenix would be awesome.
Yeah, she did commentary for the Mae Young Classic. She did as well as Renee Young did. I say get Beth Phoenix in there. All right, so that's what we want to... So there's a change for you, NXT.
Yeah.
Get rid of Nigel McGuinness. Kick him over to NXT UK. Take Paige with him. Go learn how to commentate. Although he may not be the best person to... Anyway, I think most of the problems that we have with Nigel McGuinness, she would know better than to say the things that he says.
Yes.
She has that ring knowledge. So, which of course he's got too, which is completely dumbfounding when he calls moves the weirdest of names.
I'm thinking he's going from the headset, but at the same time, come on, Nigel. You know better than that.
So, that's what we're looking forward to out of the brands next year. Next up, I want to go into, before we get into the main event, this is going to be our NXT, What's NXT Walk of Fame, the X on the Walk.
Yep.
Who gets it and what match gets it? Let's go with the match first, since we did the match first last time. Match of the year, and we're going with television only.
Yes, because NXT Takeover is a bunch of instant classics. So, whatever had kept us the most invested and had us, hyped up like crazy, that's what we went for the TV program at least.
And this match is fresh on our minds, and it's really easy to call this as the match of the year because we are currently at the highest of the suspense plateau that we're going to get for the year until we hit next year and our next episode of NXT with the Johnny Gargano and Aleister Black and Tommaso Ciampa story, feud, whatever it is. Three-way feud. They're all fighting with each other, kind of. So this is the steel cage match between Johnny Gargano and Aleister Black. I gave it 5 stars. He gave it 4 3/4. I mean, I'm pretty sure that's the highest rating that either one of us has given a main event on NXT or on What's NXT.
Well,
easily match of the year TV wise.
It was a situation where we are already psyched about the steel cage match because we are coming off of their match at Takeover, which was a classic. Simple as that. Like if I can give it more than 5 stars, I probably would. That's still my standard bearer at this point in time watching NXT wrestling is all the storytelling and all the emotion that's gone on from like just who attacked Aleister Black storyline on has been awesome, and then Gargano's transformation that he's been making, super as well. So
just the story at the end and Gargano's acting, where he's going between this split personality he's got. He's got the baby face on this side. He's got the straight heel, the crazy heel on this side. And he still thinks he's the baby face, but he has these spots where the heel takes over. And when he teamed up with Tommaso Ciampa to deliver that meet in the middle, the heel had taken over. But he immediately goes back to the baby face, like, what the fuck did I just do? But at the same time, he's on the mat. And then the heel takes over. Got to pin him.
Yeah.
Got to pin him. Got to win this match.
Yep. So,
it was brilliant.
But yeah, that's the thing with that match though. It was so technically sound, and one of steel cage matches that actually held your attention.
They did shit that I've never seen before.
Steel cage matches can get boring as shit on occasion. They really could.
On top of story, on top of story, on top of story. They started out the match perfect. They did the match perfect. They ended the match perfect. They also led you to want to see more at the end of it because of this 3-way triangle that they've got going on between Ciampa, Gargano, and Black.
It's pretty much one of those fight forever things that like you legitimately want to see these two just feud for as long as humanly possible.
I mean, this is just the best thing going on in WWE right now. And so many people that only watch the main roster, Raw and SmackDown,
you are so missing out.
They have no idea. So, I'm so glad that we do this show.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know how long I would have watched NXT UK if we hadn't been doing the show about it. I probably would have kept watching NXT, though, for real.
Mm-hmm.
It's just that good. It's such a nice break after 5 hours of meh. And then on Wednesday, you get an hour of really good wrestling.
Yeah.
So, that match leads us right into the Superstar of the Year. Because there was really only 3 choices.
Yes.
And of the 3 in that main event, you can eliminate Aleister Black, kind of, because there's really only 2 choices.
Yeah.
Tommaso Ciampa or Johnny Gargano. Who gets Superstar of the Year? Who gets the spot or the X on the Walk of Fame? And even that is just so easy.
Mr. Wrestling.
Johnny Gargano.
Yep. Mr. Takeover.
I mean,
Mr. Badass.
If anything sealed it, it was his face at the end of the steel cage match. Just the way that he has portrayed this split, this broken character. And he's not quite heel. He's not completely still a face. And he's gone through this transformation in the seamless. Everything makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
He has turned into Tommaso Ciampa to defeat Tommaso Ciampa. Along the way, now he's got Aleister Black, and it's going even further down that road because he's got to get him out of the way. And what better way to do it than the way that Tommaso Ciampa has been saying to do it all along?
Yep. You have Gargano, who started off pretty much the sympathetic babyface. He was just like the prototypical one. You just wanted to feel bad for your guy. He was out injured and everything, and then he comes back, and gradually, it was gradual is what it was. He's becoming almost the biggest heel in the company, not even being on television. And like, he's already got the skill level and everything to him, but like, when it comes, and like pretty much any match we've ever seen him in has been just phenomenal. The guy can do no wrong. But what really sold me on him, and it still is, was that initial cell phone video that he did after like he made his return, and why he explained on why he was doing what he was doing. That set the tone for his delusional character.
Yeah.
That set the tone for everything else beyond that. And you could tell that he was still conflicted. You could tell that he was just completely out of his gourd. But then he comes into these matches, he believes he didn't need to be absolved at Takeover.
Yeah,
he did nothing wrong.
He's absolving Aleister Black of his sins in the cage match.
So
it's crazy.
But yeah, it's always great television with Johnny Gargano. Simple as that.
Yeah,
great wrestling, great personality, just great.
Yeah, I think even Wrestle Talk said that Johnny Gargano's cell phone promo was probably the best promo of NXT all year. So, and I have to agree, because it did. It up until that point, it meant enough. But from what we saw from Gargano after that promo, it meant even more.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I absolutely agree. And Johnny Gargano really is the only choice at this point.
I want to say this also about, like, I'm going to harp back a little bit to the steel cage match. One of the main participants in that match that doesn't get nearly enough credit is still the steel cage itself.
Yeah.
Because the steel cage
Yes.
the steel cage itself is like one of the best steel cages I think I've ever seen. It's got that rattling quality to it. It's got that platform where you can do almost anything off the top of it.
You can see through it so much nicer.
Mm-hmm. Everything about that steel cage is fantastic. It was a character in itself in that match, and it deserves,
shout out to the steel cage.
It deserves all the credit in the world.
Yeah. So moving away from NXT back to NXT UK, we are going to get to the main event of this show. We're probably getting along to the hour and a half mark, so people are probably ready to turn off.
I think we've done well for a seat of our pants show.
An hour and a half has gone by so fast. This has been really fun.
Yes,
I look forward to doing this next year and seeing how well we did in our predictions and whatnot.
Oh yeah.
So the main event topic that we decided on, or I decided on, or whatever, it's a good topic because we, like you had said, we have been talking about this for 20 straight episodes of NXT UK. So current roster, Walter aside, we know he's coming, but he's not there yet. Who can, not who will, who might, who can defeat Pete Dunne?
At this point, if not Joe Coffey, I want to say Jordan Devlin. Because, like, now it's going to be one of those situations where they'll probably have that montage or video package where it shows Jordan Devlin talking about how he's rewatched the match, how he's got Pete Dunne completely figured out, how he almost had him a couple different times, but now he knows where he messed up and how he's going to go about it. I see Jordan Devlin being the man to actually unseat Pete Dunne.
So, I don't know about who will. Because honestly, I think until we see somebody like Walter or somebody new come in, I don't think there's anybody on the roster that will. Mm-hmm. But who can? Only person that I think that can defeat him right now is Dave Mastiff. And it's weird because he's a babyface, but he's kind of looking like a tweener after the end of his last match. I mean, it didn't end right. So anyway. Yeah, when Eddie Dennis came out and interrupted in his match, caused the disqualification. At the end of that, he looked like a heel.
Yeah.
You know, he was beating up on the guy that he already beat in the match and doing his finisher, which he didn't even need to do, and blah, blah, blah. So maybe he's a tweener now, who knows? Or maybe it's just for the feud with Dennis. But Mastiff is the only person that I can see on the roster right now, and that's strictly because of size and power moves, and that's it. Yeah. And the fact that he's still undefeated.
That would be an interesting match, especially since Pete Dunne relies a lot on suplexes and like his X-Plex and whatnot too. So
I would say Mastiff is the only one that's got that it factor that I think Aaron Riff talked about in an episode of the review not long ago, where he was talking about the NXT UK brand, and he said none of the people on the brand really have that standout factor. Like, you'd see them in an airport and you know who they are because, you know, they stand out in a crowd.
Yeah.
Mastiff has that.
Yeah.
For size alone. The man shakes the camera when he walks. I mean,
It's
damn.
just an effect.
So right now on the roster as we have it currently, he's the only person that I think can defeat Pete Dunne. I don't think he will.
Yeah.
I don't even think he's going to get an opportunity. No. They should have given it to him already. They should have already been talking about it. But maybe this is where Eddie Dennis beats him and then takes his opportunity, which would suck to see Mastiff lose. But right now, as far as the end of 2018, the only person I could see doing it is Mastiff.
Yeah.
He's just not gonna. I still think they're gonna have to get Walter in there, and Walter's gonna end up being the one to do it.
Yep, probably.
Because he's probably gonna be an awesome heel. So, I guess that finishes up the show. That's the main event.
Yes, it was.
We've never done a show like this, so I don't know how to end it. Okay, so you can follow me on Twitter if you'd like to be on the big screen and be on a future episode of NXT Party.
Because that's what we do now, the big screen.
Yep, come find us, let us know, and we will try and get you on. Just leave a comment down below if you don't have Twitter or if you don't have Facebook. But if you've got Twitter, you can find me. Go to nodq.com/Stefan. That's STEFAN. Or if you just want to go to Twitter and find me, it's Stefan R. Osborne, OSBORNE. The R stands for restricted. You can also find the General, Jerry Slaughter, on Twitter.
At NoDQGeneral. And also I have a group on Facebook called Armbar.
All caps.
All caps, ARMBAR, exclamation point. Look for Stefan or I for that group, and we will get you added in. And also, like he was saying, if you want to be a part of the show, go ahead and leave a comment. Or if you think of somebody that could beat Pete Dunne at this point, like, go ahead and just drop their name down here, and we'll either make mention of it, or if you have any questions for us.
Also, I wanted to say, if there's anybody that you would put on the What's NXT Walk of Fame, or a match that you thought was better that you would put on the What's NXT or the NXT Party Walk of Fame, leave that down below too. Because there might have been something that we didn't think about, or probably not a superstar we didn't think about, but there might have been a match that we should have called better than the ones we did.
Mm-hmm.
Although I think we were pretty spot on, at least for NXT UK. We have watched all of those.
Yeah.
As opposed to 6 to 8 months of NXT.
That's the thing. We missed a lot of ground this past year with NXT since we just now started doing this show back in August.
And we left out the NXT takeover matches because how do you pick a what's best out of a takeover match? They're all 4 and 4.5 and 5-star fucking matches.
You just don't do that.
Yeah. So to wrap it all up, I am, as always, the Rated R reviewer, Stefan Osborne, joined by the General, Jerry Slaughter. And thanks for having a spot of NXT with us, and we will see you NXT year.